Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
He's a Republican candidate for the Commonwealth. Brian Shortsleeve, always associated with the MBTA, is with us this morning. Brian Shortsleeve, how do you rebottle William Weld for 2025?
Be with you. I'm a surveillance listener every morning at 7 a.m.
Yes.
And here's what I can tell you is, this state of Massachusetts, a state I love, I've been in all my life. We have a history of electing Republican governors, Bill
Yes.
Weld, Charlie Baker, Mitt Romney. I think Massachusetts works better with balance. It works better when you have a businessman in the corner office. I'm a businessman. I spent most of my life building businesses. I run a venture capital firm. We help small businesses grow and scale. And, businessmen have to balance a budget. They live in the real world. And I think we need someone in the corner office now who knows how to create jobs.
Is Mr. Trump an advantage for you within Elizabeth Warren's Massachusetts, or do you run away from the president?
This race is going to be about local issues. It's going to be about Maura Healey's failed record as governor. I mean, let me tell you something about Massachusetts. We haven't created a single private sector job in this state since January of 23. Think about that. Not a single private sector job. It's a stunning number. This is a state that between 2010 and 2020 was the fastest growing state in the Northeast and was always at the top around job creation. But there's been a huge change here, and it is due to tax and spend policies. Governor Healey ran on the largest tax hike in state history in 22, and we're now seeing the effects of that.
Is Arnoldus Chapman pitching for the Red Sox a private sector job?
Yeah, I don't know. Brian, what's for you kind of heading into this race here? What's the top talking point for you? What's the number one item on your agenda?
Well, look, I'm a Marine officer, spent 4 years in the Marine Corps after college. I'm a businessman. I know how to create jobs. I know how to balance budgets. So my focus is getting the state and move it again from a private sector standpoint. What that means, it means cutting taxes. It means cutting fees, including all those state mandated fees that are now running through people's electricity bills and making the state too expensive to live in. We've got 500 people a week leaving Massachusetts. We've got businesses and students leaving Massachusetts. We got to turn all that around, and it starts with cutting taxes, cutting fees, and then getting our state spending under control.
So we think about one of the big items in the news here has been in your town of Boston, Harvard, getting a lot of challenges from the Trump administration as it relates to funding of some of the research they do at Harvard. What's your view on that?
Well, I go back a long way at Harvard. I went to Harvard as an undergrad, and I went on an ROTC scholarship. So when I was at Harvard in the mid 90s, the faculty was trying to run that campus, run that program, that ROTC program off campus, and terminate relations with it. So that was one of my early political fights in life, was the fight to protect ROTC at Harvard. So as we look at Harvard, today, Harvard's a critical part of our local economy, as is BU and MIT. What I would tell you is I think we need a governor that can have a seat at the table and can sit down with this administration and get to a good outcome for Harvard and MIT and BU here. And I'll tell you what's not helpful. What's not helpful is a governor who is grandstanding, who's going on CNN and the New York Times and poking the president in the eye. I don't think that's good for Harvard. I don't think that's good for Massachusetts.
Across this nation, Bloomberg Surveillance, we welcome all of you today. Special good morning to 92.9 FM in Boston. Joining us, Shortsleeve of the MBTA, Brian Shortsleeve. He's the latest candidate for governor, a Republican from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. What are the skill sets at the MBTA you have that will make Democrats and independents vote for you that the present governor doesn't have? What's the process skill step you learned trying to keep the traffic straight at Kenmore Square?
Well, when I stepped into the MBTA, it was after the Snowmageddon of 2015. There were 100 inches of snow on the ground, and that system had failed. Governor Baker asked me to take a couple of years of my life away from the business world and step in. He gave me a mission. His mission was balance the budget, get the capital spending moving, and rescue the Green Line Extension project. So I think what I demonstrated in those 2 years was the toughness of a Marine. I'm a fighter. I know how hard it is to drive change in big public agencies like the T. And I'm very proud of our record there. We developed, we delivered the first balanced budget, the T, in more than a decade. We delivered record low operating expenses. And that Green Line Extension project, which today, Tom, will take you from downtown Crossing right out to Tufts University. It's a great project that was dead in the water back in 2015. The feds had pulled the
Okay.
funding. It was $1 billion overdue, and we got it done and turned around.
And I cut to the chase. Bill Weld didn't have to deal with woke Boston. You have to deal with woke Boston, the People's Republic of Nantucket. You know the drill better than I do, Brian Shortsleeve. How are you going to get woke Massachusetts to vote for a Republican this time around?
Well, Massachusetts does better with balance. And I'll tell you, historically, having a Republican governor in the corner office has been a good thing for the state. I'm traveling everywhere. I'm talking to voters. I'm getting a great response from donors. And what they're telling me is we got to cut taxes. We got to cut spending. We got to cut fees. We got to get the fiscal house in order here because it's become too expensive to do business in Massachusetts. And that's what's driving people and businesses out of the state. So I think people want change. We want to go back to being a growth state. We don't want to be tied with Illinois for the lowest private sector job growth in the country. And unfortunately, that's where we sit today.
Nobody cares. We just had you on for one question. Should Devers play first base?
I would say yes, but that's a very controversial question.
That's why we're asking. We're trying to make news here, Brian.
I say yes.
There we go.
Yep.
They're paying enough. He's killing it. What a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brian Shortsleeve, thank you so much. Of course, with the MBTA forever in Boston. And now Republican candidate for governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.